And hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I am joined today by our latest granny. Her daughter just had a baby and we're all very happy for her. We've got Lesley Price with us, coming to us from just outside of London. How are you, Lesley?
Oh, very excited, Rick. Very excited. The doting granny.
Yeah, I think for 5 minutes she's not thinking
granny
of
is a
LearnAppeal.
Scottish. Yeah,
Yes.
granny's a Scottish. It's a Scottish term.
Yes.
So it's
And it's an American
just
term
like,
too.
yeah, but just like the Queen and the Queen Mother are grannies.
Well, not only is she the queen mother of her grandchild, but she's also the queen mother of LearnAppeal at www.learnappeal.com. And if you have a chance, go take a look. It's a wonderful project. And it's led by a wonderful person who cares about the work that they do. So good for you, Lesley. Congratulations on the grandson and LearnAppeal.
Thank you.
Good job. And today we've got a great guest. We've got Damien, I'm going to get this right, Bruyndonckx. I think I got it right this time, I hope. I always get it wrong, but it's not that hard. And manning the video switcher is Harold Muliati. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com, your training and video partner.
Hello, I'm Peter Baker. Please visit voiceovermasterclass.com to see details of the training courses I have on offer for new and existing voice talents to further their career by enhancing voice and technical skills, as well as essential marketing tips.
And we are back, and please do visit Peter Baker's site. He is a great guy, a wonderful voiceover talent, and he's a good teacher. And pardon my voice, I've got a little bit of laryngitis, but other than that, I feel good. And there's Damien. How are you, Damien?
Good, very good. Thank you for having me, and good evening to you, because it's 7 p.m. for me over here.
Yeah, and here it is about 10 a.m. So somewhere in the world, it's 5 o'clock. So
Absolutely.
Yep. But anyway, good to see you again, Damien, and congratulations on your latest book with Pooja Jai Singh. Is this the second book you've written with her?
That's the second book I've written with Pooja, but overall it's my 6th book on Captivate already.
You've been prolific. You've written a lot of books on Captivate, and always fun to see what you write and how you show all the new things. You and Pooja have also done a great job together on the books, and congratulations on those too. So I think were we showing a copy of the book? Yeah. Okay. I wasn't looking. So Damien, what's new in your world?
Well, we've been very busy. So the book came out in January, and lately I've been recording a lot of courses for LinkedIn Learning.
Oh, nice.
So I've been traveling a lot, because here in Europe they have studios in Austria, in Graz, which is in the southern part of Austria. So I've been there 5 times this year, I think, to record courses. We also have a lot of business in the video field. So
yes.
we do some video recordings and pedagogical videos and instructional videos for our customers.
Nice.
And I also am able to announce some new projects that I'm going to work on, because I had a call yesterday with a French editor, E&I Editions. So I'm going to write a book on Camtasia in French.
Very nice.
In the next few weeks and months. So it should be out somewhere in 2020.
That's great. Camtasia is a great product.
Be followed by a book on Captivate in French this time.
That's nice.
So that's two
on your
projects I'm very excited about.
Now, in your LinkedIn Learning classes, are those in French or in English?
The what?
The LinkedIn Learning classes that you're doing?
Yes. So I have recorded like 30 plus courses in the French catalog of LinkedIn Learning.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's a very cool activity that we have. First, it's an opportunity to travel to Austria, which is always good.
Hmm.
It's also an opportunity to meet with other instructors because they have a lot of recording booths over there, and we always have like two, three, four French-speaking instructors with us. So it's great to meet other experts in their own fields. We learn a lot from each other. And as an e-learning expert, it's also a good way for me to not only teach e-learning, but to actually do it. It keeps my hand dirty, actually.
No, that's wonderful. So, how did you wind up? I know originally you were an audio engineer. You mentioned that I think on one of the
Well,
last shows. How did you go from audio
yes.
engineering to e-learning and training?
Well, actually, I was trained as an elementary school teacher, and
Ah,
I was graduated I was 21 when I was graduated, so I thought it was a little bit too young to start working, and so I went to the sound engineering school at that time after I was graduated as an elementary school teacher. At that time, I was playing a lot of music, so it was just natural for me to attempt that. But then I failed my first year as an sound engineer, and so at that moment, I thought I had to go back to teaching somehow. But I really did not want it to go back to teaching because after a year in the sound engineering school, all I wanted to do was music, concerts,
mm-hmm.
shows, and stuff like that. So really far away from teaching. And so I had the opportunity to move to the United States and to be a French teacher in Louisiana.
Hmm.
And so I went there. I figured out that this was probably a good way for me to get back into teaching, to find some motivations going back into teaching. And so I stayed in Louisiana for 3 years. I picked up English over there. I was 22 when I arrived in Louisiana, and 25 when I left. And back to Belgium. Well, I really did not want it to go back to teaching. After a 3 years overseas experience, learning a foreign language, it's like, it's not something you want to do. So I was looking for a job, and I met that company. Uh, it was a computer training company, and they were looking for, quote, quote, pedagogical profile with a knowledge of English.
Hmm.
So that was, I was a perfect fit, I think. And so I started to teach computer classes. It was Microsoft Office at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was HTML, CSS, so everything around web technologies. And then I switched. I went to another company, and I was lucky enough for the other company I went to acquired another company, which was a Macromedia training center
Hmm.
at the time. And so I became a Macromedia trainer. And so that's how I got into taking my first certification. It was on Dreamweaver at that time. And around that time, Captivate was released for the first time. Captivate 1 was a Macromedia product. And so because I had a background in teaching, my boss told me, well, there is that new product. It's called Captivate. It's for teachers. Just take a look at it. And boom, here I am.
Isn't it funny how many of us never really got into the training field and wound up
Yeah,
in the training field? Lesley, you're one of them.
yeah. Yeah, except that, yeah, I started off in marketing, but I saw a job in our local free paper when Natalie, my daughter, was only 9 months old, and they were looking for uh, lecturers, trainers in what you call community college, what we call further education. So teenagers, not elementary. My daughter's an
Mm-hmm.
elementary teacher. I could never do that, never. But I loved working with teenagers, and I started using. I've told the story on the show before, Damien, but I started using working with my students when it was the great big laser discs, the great big 12-inch laser discs. And then as soon as the internet was born, I happened to be at a college which was over the road from Loughborough University. And so our college got the internet back in about, as soon as it came out, 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And I started using it then to support my students. And eventually, the rest is history. Ran it in the college, ran a regional program, ran a national program, and ended up advising government. And now, I mean, I've spent my whole life in learning technologies. Almost my whole working career, certainly for the last, since before the internet was born, for the last 30 years.
Now, Damien, how much do you still do audio and engineering or audio sound engineering or playing music?
Playing music, not really, because I don't have the time to rehearse and to play music. But I still have my saxophone in the attic.
Nice.
So when I'll get older, the plan is to play again. Yes, I still work as a sound engineer from time to time. What I do most of the time is I am the sound guy for a singer here in Belgium, and he's a singer for children. So we do a lot of shows with children and in the schools, which is funny because it's kind of going back into the schools, going back into working with children in schools, so which was my original training. So it's kind of cool that both ends meet that way.
Yep.
I also work, actually that was last weekend, I worked with the orchestra that I used to play in. They do a gala concert each year. It was last weekend, and so I'm doing the sound and light for that.
That's great.
So yes, I do that from time to time, and also when you work in e-learning, audio is a big part of it. Often an overlooked part of audio. You
one of the most important parts
for the e-learning to work. So I'm really glad that I studied sound engineering and that I can come up with I can use those skills when I produce my e-learning courses.
Now,
so what got you into writing? Because I don't know if I could ever have done that, because I always think of myself, because I suppose I used to stand in front of, not only in small classes, but in front of, at the front of a lecture hall. And, I would consider myself very much a people person. Although you have to, as a lecturer, you do have to have writing skills as well, and the reading skills, because you're marking all these assignments. But I don't know if I'd ever want to do that permanently. So what took you from the spoken word to the written word?
Well, it's another one of those funny stories. Actually, one of the products that I learned when I was working as a Macromedia trainer was ColdFusion, and so I became a ColdFusion certified instructor. And it turns out that one of the marketer for ColdFusion that used to work for Adobe was stationed in Brussels, here in Belgium, and so we had a very active community. ColdFusion community here in Belgium, and we had a ColdFusion user group. And at some point, I was to the user group, talk to the guy, and say, "Well, there is a problem with ColdFusion because I learned ColdFusion, reading books, but there is no more books on ColdFusion. So how new people are going to learn that language if there is no more books?" And he told me, "Well, write it." And so I wrote the book. That was in June of, I don't remember which year, and so I spent my summer writing a book on ColdFusion. And in September, when I got back to the first session of the user group in September, I told him, "Well, here is the book. Now get it published." And of course, it never happens. So I was looking for a publisher for my ColdFusion book. And I was sending out my resume to several publishers, and I got an answer from Pact Publishing saying, "Well, we are not interested in your ColdFusion book, but we are looking for someone for a Captivate book. Would you be interested in doing that?" And that's how I got into writing the Captivate book.
That's pretty cool.
And now the funny part is that inside Adobe, the business unit that creates Captivate is the same business unit as the one that is creating ColdFusion. And so because they are inviting me to all these events they do with the marketing manager of that business unit that is also overseeing ColdFusion. And I told him, well, I still have that book in my drawer on ColdFusion. If you want, well, we can update it to the new version or whatever. And that guy told me, I'm not interested in a book, but if you can turn it into a video training, then I'm interested in doing that. And that's how I got to turn my book into a video training that was published in Adobe Know-how when it still existed. And now they have published it on YouTube. And I think the course has like 25 or 30,000 views. So it's a cool thing. So, it's kind of another funny story. It looks like everyone on this call has funny stories.
That happens to most of us. If you certainly, if I ask people in the e-learning community, both in the UK and overseas, and applies generally, how did you get into this? And I can almost say, almost 95% of people will say, well, that's a funny story. It was really by accident. It wasn't a career choice. And our industry is growing so much that one of the things we do at the charity that I now work for is to try and encourage and nurture young talent, because at the moment it's still the same. People are getting into it by accident, not as a career choice.
Yes, that's true, and I think it's what makes what makes it interesting. I really love talking to people that are also in e-learning. I love to hear all those stories, and also I think it's important for us in e-learning to live through that, because our audience is going to be that way in the future. What I mean is that I've read somewhere a study saying that like 3/4 of the students that are today in higher education will end up in jobs that do not exist yet.
Very true.
It means that these people will have to study along the way, and they will have to also get into new fields by accident, just like we did. So and they will need a lot of training along the way to be able to change from one career path to the next. And someone that gets graduated and goes to school, goes to the first job, and then work for 30 years or 40 years in the same company, and then goes retired, that does not exist anymore.
No.
And so we are just exactly like our audience, the ones that will need training along their way. So I think it's really interesting for us to be that way. When I was graduated, e-learning was not really existent, so I didn't even know that it was possible to teach through a computer when I was a kid and when I was a student. And now I'm writing books on Captivate. So that is a funny story if you position yourself back in the 90s, but it's a very common story today, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So Damien, what do you see as the future for e-learning? You've seen enough of it. Where do you think e-learning is going?
Well, here in Belgium, it's probably very different from what you see in the United States. Here in Belgium, we have a lot of demand on video. So I think the next big thing is going to be video. Lots of our customers are getting into e-learning, and they want to convert their existing training into e-learning. And the most natural way for them to do it is to do it using video. So they want to screencast their PowerPoint. They want to do the green screen, with them in the video and the PowerPoint behind them. This is what we have a lot of demands for that at the moment. A lot. It's huge over here. And
I think it's
for
huge
most,
everywhere right now.
yeah,
Streaming video and also streaming training is becoming very, very popular. And I think people don't want to really read on a screen. They want to, I think, and to a certain point, be taught versus they themselves reading. It's not, current generation's not a reading generation for the most part. There are exceptions. But on the whole, it's not a big reading generation. If you go to like a Barnes and Noble, you see young kids and you see older people, and not much in between. So it might change. We're hoping it changes in the future because reading is a good thing to do and to know. But you're right. I think video is becoming the big thing. Now, you said you were doing videos at the beginning. Are you shooting the videos and doing the editing?
yes. So machine from Epiphan, the Canadian brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are able to shoot our own videos, to do our green key,
Mm-hmm.
to stream videos. That's part of our business as well. So we go to company events and we stream the video out to those who are not able to attend the event or
Yep.
something like that. So that's part of what we do. And we also have a new partnership with TechSmith.
Oh,
So
nice.
those who are making Camtasia, yeah. So one of the new feature of Camtasia 2018, I think, was the fact that Camtasia was available in French.
Mm-hmm.
And so TechSmith is currently pushing a lot in the French market. So in the French-speaking communities, they want to foster that community. And so now we do webinars in French with TechSmith, and I'm also writing that new book on Camtasia. That will be my project for the next few
That's
months.
great. Camtasia is a great tool, by the way. For those who don't use it, it's a wonderful tool, and it's one of the better, and it's an easy video editing tool to learn. If you're not a video editor, don't be afraid. You can do it pretty easily in Camtasia.
And I think it's part of the reason why video is becoming so big.
Mm-hmm.
You have products like Camtasia that makes it easy and cheap for people to do great videos.
Yeah.
Camtasia will never be Premiere or
No.
Final Cut. That's not the goal. But if you are into e-learning, Camtasia is a wonderful tool. You have an easy way to edit your videos. You get great tools, and you can get your video out there in no time, and get cranked into e-learning. That's a very cool way to get started.
That's pretty cool. Now, Lesley, are you seeing the same in England where video is becoming more and more popular?
It varies. It varies. It really varies. What we're tending to see is, and I'll probably stand to be corrected, but what we're tending to see is an awful lot more of what you would call live online learning.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than video, or rather than face-to-face training, we're seeing a growth in live online learning, where again people make the assumption that, oh, it's just the same as standing up in front of a class. It's actually not.
No.
It's a skill set that requires a lot of work, and you've got to combine it with, depending on the size of the group you have, you need to be combining it with trying to encourage chat, trying to encourage discussion, trying to encourage learners to get together afterwards, so in between the live online sessions, and even the type of materials that are used. You can't just do live online learning and think, oh, I'm going to talk my way through a PowerPoint. It doesn't work that way. But many people, unfortunately, still think it does. And, it's a different skill set.
Well, what are you saying? The old saying was, "There's a million ways to bore someone," and unfortunately, they don't want to give that up easily either. Let's bore people with PowerPoint nonstop.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been in classes where all you have are bullets and bullets and bullets and bullets, and by the time you're done, you don't remember what you learned. It doesn't mean anything. The teacher died of a heart attack and nobody even noticed, it's bad. It's just not good.
And it's the same. And it's the same if you go to if you just convert
Yes.
the equivalent of PowerPoint into e-learning,
Right.
and not only have you got the text in front of you, you've got audio over it saying exactly what you're reading, and you can't press the next button until both of them are finished.
Right. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, this is what we also do with our customers. So when they come to us, they want a way to get started into e-learning, and they want to recycle their existing material. And so most of the time we got those creepy PowerPoints, and they want just the next thing. And so what we try to do with them is to make them rewrite their PowerPoint so that it sticks more to e-learning standards, and we accompany our customers doing that. And then we try to make them convert their PowerPoint, but like the e-learning way, like shortening the videos, stuff like that, or rewriting the topic so that we don't say the same thing that what is on the slide, but both try to reinforce each other. This is something we do a lot with our customers, and I think it's very important. Most of them they think that just shooting the PowerPoint is going to make them go easier and faster into e-learning and cheaper, but at the end it's not effective. So we try to make them think that going into e-learning is an opportunity to kind of rewrite their course and make it better, to look again into the topics. This is
and to make it interactive,
a big part
and
of our business
engaging,
here in Belgium.
But interactive and engaging is so important. And the other thing I love in e-learning is now that branching scenarios are being used more. So people can then make choices, see consequences of actions, and say, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So it's almost like you're allowing people to learn from mistakes, but in a very safe way. But they can still make the mistakes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think Rick asked me, what do you think it's the next big thing in e-learning? And I answered this video, but just next to that is going to be interactive video, because with video, we lose all that interactivity. And very quickly, our customers realize that video is good. It's a good way to get started, but we kind of fall short into the effectiveness of the training, because you remember what you hear, but you remember even more what you do when you are active.
Yeah.
And so in that perspective, the new interactive video feature of Captivate is something brilliant, I think, because it's going to again reunite video, which is an easy first step for most people, with interactivity, the interactivity that is paramount to get engagement and retention, which is what it's all about.
Yeah. And learning, because at the end of the day, it's not just all about the learning, it's about the business outcomes. What difference does the learning make to improving not only individual performance, but business performance? So if you behave in such and such a way and you take such and such an action, what impact does that then have on the overall organization? Because at the end of the day, it's your C-suite people, the people at the top of the tree, the management, who are going to be signing off the budget for these things, and they want results.
And it's very interesting, because one of the things that very few learning departments do is really measure outcomes. It's really a shame, because you have no idea what you're doing unless you measure the outcomes. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I told you I judged the Learning Technology Awards, and individual and organizational performance is now one of the criteria that's part of the awards. So in the judging process, and they want metrics to go along with it. So when people are applying for awards and submitting all their stuff, they know that when they're asked to do their submission, or they're asked to then get shortlisted and come for a presentation, can they prove what they're doing? What difference had it made?
Right.
The big
Because a
so
lot of
what question.
I've heard learning departments say something like, "Well, we've had 5,000 people go through the training, and
So
well,
So
they went
what?
through the training and they completed it, and." If you're not tracking it back to some sort of performance or key performance indicator, it doesn't mean anything. It
Nope.
just really doesn't mean anything at all.
And I'm sure you
Yeah, and I
must be
think
the same where you are, Damien.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it reminds me of the importance of working together as a team, because I'm very bad, I admit, at metrics and marketing goals and stuff like that. I'm a teacher, so what I'm interested in is teaching people, and but I understand more and more the importance of those metrics and measuring those outcomes.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is to work with someone who knows about that. Maybe not someone who is a teacher, but I think our field is complex. We have to teach, and teaching itself is already complex enough. But then we have to align to business goals and to a whole other field. That's something we are not really interested into at first, because we are teachers. And so building a team around us, I think it's very important. And one of the main skills that we should all have is to first have the humility to recognize our shortcomings, and also have the required skills to build a team around us and to work together as a team. I think this is critical.
That's great. And with that, we are pretty much at the end of our time. Damien, as always,
time flies.
Life goes fast. But Damien, as always, appreciate you coming on and sharing. Really happy to hear about the Camtasia book and all the other good stuff you've done. And tell us the truth. Is Pooja that nice to work with, really? I'm joking. I love Pooja.
You know what? She's absolutely a joy to work with. She's a great person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to India next month.
Nice.
So I'm going to meet them in India, because one of them is getting married in the Captivate team, and I got invited to the wedding. So I have a chance to see them in India and
Exciting.
to get to know Pooja on the personal side. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, Pooja's wonderful.
Great person.
She is. Well, you guys make a real nice team. I couldn't think of two nicer people to collaborate, put together good books, and just, be nice people. I love that. It's just great. And we wish you all the best, and we look forward to seeing you on the show again.
Yeah,
Thanks a
nice
lot.
to meet you. Okay, take care.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
We'll have Damien's information below for you to reach him if you want to. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.